Just give us an update on the situation with the SEC. Where do things stand? Obviously, you intend to fight this vigorously.
Thanks for having me, Emily. Indeed, we do intend to fight it vigorously. From our point of view, what has happened here isn't really just a lawsuit against Ripple. It's really against the crypto industry at large. As you know, and as you and I have talked about on this show, the U.S. has been a laggard in providing regulatory clarity so that investors know how to best invest and entrepreneurs can build companies and hire people. Ironically, a lot of countries around the world have had that regulatory clarity. Just here in the US, we've kind of lagged that. So the UK, Japan, Singapore, Switzerland, all have very clear regulatory frameworks. And actually, ironically, on the topic of the lawsuit the SEC has brought against Ripple, the only country on the planet that has viewed XRP as a security is the United States SEC in bringing that lawsuit.
So is there a chance of a settlement? And what happens if you lose?
So look, I'm hopeful that as a new administration comes into the SEC, there's an opportunity to revisit some of those conversations. As you may know and may recall, Jay Clayton, as the chair of the SEC, the day before he left office, he brought this lawsuit against Ripple and against me personally, against Chris Larsen personally. And we don't think that made a lot of sense, given that XRP had been trading in the marketplace for 8 years. Literally nearly $1 trillion of XRP has traded out there. And so to do that the day before he leaves his position, right a couple days before Christmas, I think was misguided. And as Mary Jo White, the former head of the SEC, has said publicly that she views this as a dead wrong, and the SEC is dead wrong on this decision. I'm hopeful with Gary Gensler, the likely new chair of the SEC, likely to be confirmed here in a couple of weeks. There's an opportunity to have a conversation with that new leadership as he brings his team in on what can be done that's constructive for Ripple and really for the whole crypto industry to provide that clarity and allow people to participate in these markets and to build companies around these technologies.
Meantime, we're waiting for the Coinbase direct listing, which continues to be postponed. Our sources are telling us that's because of a backup at the SEC. But what are you watching for there in terms of whether or not that is a success or some sort of validation that the crypto market needs?
Well, look, I think it's very clear that the crypto markets at large have become, very mainstream, and there's more and more institutional interest. I mean, my guess is about a year ago, the market overall might have been a few $100 billion, and now it's just below $2 trillion. And that only happens with lots of institutional money entering that market. Coinbase has built an amazing business here in the United States. I suspect that will be a very successful listing, and there continues to be a lot of interest in this space. And there's a lot of different ways to invest in this space, and Coinbase has clearly been a leader, and so I'm excited to see them get out as a public company.
Meantime, I spoke with the CEO of Kraken yesterday, Jesse Powell, smaller crypto exchange, much smaller than Coinbase. But take a listen to what he had to say about price.
I think I said Bitcoin's going to infinity, and that's kind of hard to comprehend because I'm measuring it in terms of dollars, and it might be easier to understand it if we measure it, like in terms of Teslas, right? Like now 1 Bitcoin for 1 Model 3, or, probably by the end of the year, I think it'll be 1 Bitcoin per Lambo, and probably by the end of next year, it'll be 1 Bitcoin per Bugatti. So, I think that to me and to the crypto community, I think those kinds of assets make it easier to measure Bitcoin against, because you never know where the dollar is going to be.
1 Bitcoin per Lambo, 1 Bitcoin per Bugatti. Where do you think it's going, Brad?
Look, I think it's very clear that Bitcoin is solving a real problem for people who want exposure to this asset class. And as Jesse, I saw that interview, that was very well done. And I think as Jesse said, there is a lot of inflationary dynamics of some of the major fiat currencies. M2 money supply here in the United States grew about 25% year on year. But I also think we have to remember, and as Bill Gates was quoted recently saying that Bitcoin as a payment mechanism is amongst the least efficient payment mechanisms that man has ever created, because as the price of Bitcoin goes up, the energy consumption and the carbon footprint of a proof of work, that mining that happens to validate transactions, that continues to scale aggressively also. And I think we can't lose sight of the fact that 1 Bitcoin transaction is the equivalent of about 75 gallons of gasoline being burned.
I'm glad you said that, Brad, because Bill Gates said that on this show, said that he was not a fan of Bitcoin specifically because of all the energy it uses. So what's the solution?
Well, to be clear, I am a fan of Bitcoin. I just think we need to be clear about what problem it's solving. And as a store of value, as kind of digital gold, I think Bitcoin is exceptional. Moreover, I think Bitcoin, like the Ethereum network, both Bitcoin and Ethereum use proof of work to validate transactions. But Ethereum, I think, has been very, the kind of some of the developers behind that project have been very forward-looking and realizing that the power consumption is a real problem and have been migrating to a different and much more efficient technology. We at Ripple use the XRP ledger because it's extremely fast and it's about 100,000 times more energy efficient than Bitcoin. So in that context, it works really well for payments. And the reason why we've had so much success gaining customers and continue to scale our business, even in the face of this SEC lawsuit, has been because it works. It solves a real problem, it scales well, and the cost efficiencies are very real.